You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Shawn Wilkie, and along with my awesome co-host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Ivan, please kick us off.
Hey, I'm Ivan Zach. Excited to have Ashley Koll on the episode today. Ashley is the CEO of Lemon Collaborative, brings a unique blend of veterinary expertise and marketing acumen to her role. With a background in veterinary technology and 6 years of clinical experience spanning specialties like dentistry, ER, and GP, Ashley transitioned into sales and marketing for a leading veterinary software company during pandemic. Driven by this love for influencer marketing, she decided to launch Lemon Collaborative and now manages veterinarian content creators and works with brands to launch their influencer marketing program. She is also an advisor for pet startup brands kickstart their affiliate marketing programs. Ashley, welcome to the show. Thank you for finding the time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me here.
So, do you help clinics to create marketing and create an influencer out of it, or more for industry and startups or all of the above?
Yeah, so I work more so on the brand side of things. So I don't work with clinics too much anymore. Right now, I'm focusing on innovative companies or leading companies in the veterinary industry.
Okay. Can you tell us then about what is it about creating an influencer and what is it about? Tell us what you do.
Yeah, so I work with veterinarians that are full-time veterinarians, but they are also content creators on social media. So we work with companies to bring their products or their brands to the market that is the influencer's audience. So a lot of the time now when I'm working with brands, they come to me and they're like, we're at this standstill. We don't know how to market anymore. Email marketing is kind of fading out for them a lot. So they're really trying to bring their company to a new audience that is social media. I think a lot of brands are realizing you need to have a face behind your product for people to want to buy it. And so I would say a lot of startups are coming to me, but also some of the big brands are now understanding, okay, this is the way we need to go.
That's cool. So for Shawn, for example, he was trying to start his page on OnlyFans and he couldn't. I'm just kidding. Okay. So tell me about TikTok. I'm the old and bold guy, and I'm trying to tap into that, and we're trying to add this to our marketing. So can you tell me more about this? Like, I don't know, how do you kickstart sort of the TikTok brand for an influencer?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to define your niche. Like, you cannot be lifestyle, pet, vet. Like, you can't have a million interests. You have to figure out what you want to target and what kind of people you want to target in order to have an actually engaged audience. So I always recommend for every person that's trying to get into influencing to start with their content pillars. I would say select 5 different content pillars, and every single piece of content that you post should fall into one of those pillars. For me, right now, the algorithm is prioritizing TikTok Shop, and it is very hard to get content on your feed that is content that you actually want to watch. So I've been telling a lot of people to try out Instagram before TikTok. It's just the more popular option right now, and you're going to have a more targeted audience. And TikTok is one of those websites or social media platforms where if you go viral, that's when you build your audience. For Instagram, you can build your audience slowly and surely, but it is with that target. But I would definitely define your content pillars, figure out what your niche is and who to target.
That's great, Ashley. So I guess I'm the serious side of the podcast today, which I don't mind doing. Somebody's got to make up for Ivan's shenanigans. But Ashley, there's lots of companies that listen to our podcast, big and small, startups and large consolidators. What role would influencer marketing have, or does it have, for a consolidator, somebody that has 500 vet hospitals? How would they leverage services that you produce? And then let's flip and say, if you're a startup listening to this show and they want to use some influencer marketing as part of their go-to-market strategy, what would that look like, and how would they potentially be different?
So you're saying consolidator as in somebody that owns multiple clinics?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's funny. Hunter Finn, he's a big influencer. A lot of people know his name. He went and opened up 3 different clinics. I think it's 3 in Texas. Because he has this big personality on Instagram, people are going to him directly for that. And so I'm working with a few different companies that do have a lot of clinics. I can't say their names, but they have a bunch of clinics and they're trying to get their name out there so that they can either attract clients, but more so attract veterinarians. I think a lot of people are looking for vets to hire, and they need to be that new and fun hospital. They need to be that unicorn clinic that people don't usually tend to see. And they're doing so by showing, okay, this awesome personality on Instagram works at this kind of clinic. Or, like, for example, Veg, they're a huge one. They have Veg ambassadors, and they have the coolest influencers out there promoting their companies on a monthly basis. And more people are going to get, when they're thinking about, oh, I need to go apply for a clinic, they're going to go to Veg. So that is the number one way that I would say those kind of people should be using it. That kind of company is just getting ambassadors for your practice that work at your clinic that are also on Instagram or on social media. As for startups, we've done a lot of product showcases on people that are launching new products, but then also figuring out pain points and having the influencer direct those pain points to their audience, which is targeted, to be able to have, either a lead list come through or they get a start. Like, we just worked with an AI company, and they were able to offer such a good deal for the influencers audience that I think we had over 200 signups like within one post, which was fantastic for them. So I think it's really just, you want to see that brand come to life on the influencers page, and the way that they're going to have to do it is through paid campaigns with their influencers.
Yeah, it makes tons of sense. And then I guess, one of the things about your journey that's really interesting is you started in a clinic, then you went down the kind of sales, marketing, kind of build a business. And now you're kind of in this place where you're helping other brands kind of leverage these sales and marketing techniques. Maybe tell us a little bit about that journey and kind of what you've picked up along the way.
Yeah, I think for me, when I left being a vet tech, which was during COVID, which I feel like is 90% of vet techs that I talked to that went to corporate didn't leave during COVID. I was really burnt out. And so I knew the struggles of what vet techs were going through and veterinarians were going through every day. And being able to work on the company side of things, a B2B company, it really helped me figure out my niche for my practice or for my company. So I look at it as I'm an expert in this field because I've lived it and I've been in it and now I've worked in it. And so when I work with these brands that come to me, a lot of the time they're, they're not veterinarians or vet techs that are starting these companies. They're tech guys or tech girls. Like, they're totally out of the industry. They came in, they had this brilliant idea that they found from somebody else, and they launched this awesome company, and they're struggling to make those sales and attach to those people that are in the clinics. And so a lot of the time, companies will come to me and they're like, we need to know the expertise that you bring to the table. And a lot of the time I'm able to say, look, I've lived it. I know what's going to attract these people. And here's how we can make your next marketing campaign impactful through my influencers. So, for example, I ran a campaign giving out a free pair of Hokas and a free pair of figs for a company that I had worked at. And those did fantastic because that is the target market. That is what they're looking for. And that's how you target them, is by providing them with a product or a giveaway that they're looking for. So for me, it's just been, I'm never going to leave the vet industry. I love it here. Like, I live and breathe the veterinary industry. It is what I know best. And it really, it gives me the ability to take brands to the next level when they come into it.
So did I understand correctly? You do have a network of influencers that help you to, okay. So that's how it works. I didn't realize that. I thought that you help the companies to build an influencer internally, but you have okay. So let's talk about your business model then. So you have a bunch of people that are influencers in the industry, and then you leverage them, and they get also, I would imagine, remunerated for running a campaign, and then you manage those.
Exactly. So I handle all the business side of things for influencers. So I manage 5 veterinarians that are content creators on social media platforms. So brands come to me, they want to run a campaign either around a certain product or their company or brand awareness. And we figure out, okay, which one of my influencers is the best for this kind of campaign? Are you targeting pet parents? Are you targeting veterinarians? Do you want a 50-50 split? Who can we provide that audience for? So I then work with my influencer to come up with a concept for the campaign, work with the brand to figure out the goal of the campaign, and we merge those two to create an awesome campaign that goes live on the influencer's page. So I manage 5 veterinarians. I work with brands to help them launch their influencer marketing programs, but I'm more so on the influencer side of things. I have done both, but it's more so the influencers.
Okay, so you don't consult companies to necessarily launch their own influencer internally?
No, I mean, I've chatted with a few companies that want to do that, but for the most part, it's either a company coming to me asking me how to launch an influencer marketing program and consulting that way, or running a campaign with one of my influencers.
Okay, so then the question to you then, do you have these people that are influencers and they have a lot of following, and then when you launch the campaign, then essentially you own or manage or work with billboard, and then that, like, I'm just figuratively speaking, that billboard is the influencer, and then it has a lot of eyes on it, and then you help companies to choose which billboard works better for their audience, and then essentially they're okay. Interesting. I just 10 minutes into this, I clued in. Good. So is that something that you're planning to do at scale? Do you have the 5 that you manage, or is it there's like a bigger model behind it where you're looking for more people? And is it like a recurrent model, or you just kind of, that's your set, and then you go work with those people?
Yeah, I think I could probably take on one more influencer before expanding. I think I'm just at this point where we have a lot of companies that are looking to launch their influencer marketing programs and launch campaigns with us, that I would need to have a few more hires before I was able to move in to that space. I've dreamt of being able to open up speaker services. I have worked with speakers a lot, and I've been able to do a lot of company deals with them where they're sponsoring speakers to go out and speak at different conferences or whatnot. So that's another part of the business that I've debated going into. But for the most part, for now, I'll stick with my 5, maybe sign on 1 or 2 more, and then I would need to expand and hire somebody else as well.
So how did you find this business model, and how did you find your influencers? Because, are you out of a bloom calling someone who is already known on, platforms and thinks that they already succeed in it and they probably have their following, and then someone like yourself calls and says, hey, would you like to be managed? Like, how do you break through that to kind of get into that niche to help them?
Yeah, so I had worked with, the first person I had signed was Dr. Christy, Dogtor Christy, on Instagram. She and me had worked together at my prior company when I had launched their influencer marketing program. So me and her already had a really good relationship there. She came on, I think, 2 days after I started my company, and gave me that opportunity to prove myself. And after, I want to say it was like 4 months, I had signed on my second. And then ever since, I've signed on an influencer per month until 2024 hit. And I was like, it's getting too much. This is where I end it. So for the most part, it's word of mouth. Like, people are just, they have a little community where they're talking about me in there. But it's also been building relationships at conferences, meeting them in person, and just chatting with them. And I think it's really important that I have a niche. Like, a lot of agencies don't have a niche. They're, lifestyle, athletes, veterinary, whatever, dogs, pets, whatever it may be. They don't have, I'm only veterinarians, and I'm only vet techs, and I'm only the veterinary industry. And this is what I know. So for a lot of it, those conversations are pretty easy to have because I come from the industry, and there's a lot more trust built there. And that's exactly what these influencers are doing, is building trust with their audience, just like I am with these influencers.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And so what have you learned along the way? Like, this is a relatively new area of marketing, especially for digital acquisition. Influencer marketing has, been talked a lot about. I would say really it's picked up since the pandemic. Like, it was, people were really looking for new ways to find audiences for their products. And you have all of these people that are having conversations and have built a following. So what have you learned along the way that, might help companies consider services like you provide, Ashley?
Yeah, 2 things. One, you have to have a face. There needs to be a human being representing your brand or your product. You can no longer just have Canva posts all over your profile and that be your selling or your marketing on your social medias. You really need to have somebody that's vouching for the product, that's a trusted source, especially credentialed. That's what I'm seeing a lot of, is companies coming to me and they're like, we're looking for somebody credentialed to be able to back our product. And it's understandable. Veterinarians can sell to other veterinarians. Just like when I worked in sales, I was a vet tech selling to other vets or vet techs. So you have to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk. And then the other thing, so overall, I think you really have to look at it as what's new and upcoming. And if you're not with it, then you're going to be pushed out. And that's what I'm seeing with a lot of brands is we have these really cool, innovative brands coming to us and wanting to do influencer marketing because it is this new type of marketing, but it's also super effective for them to get their brand out there and for people to recognize their brand when they're, shopping. If I'm going out and I'm buying treats, I want to be able to go, oh, I remember, this person recommended this and I'm going to go buy that product. So you have to be able to stay with the new times. And if you don't, you'll get left behind. That's what I tell a lot of brands, but it's true. It's just like AI. Like if you're not trying out AI in this day and age in a vet clinic, like you need to be. Like that's all I can say really.
So would your customers as the brands being more those that market to the veterinary industry, or it's also customer facing? Is it like more B2B or B2C? Because influencers in the vet industry, like, I don't know if maybe I know nothing about this, and maybe there are vet influencers that have huge following through public. I was just thinking only about those that followed by the veterinary industry. So is it both B2B and B2C, or what's your what do you influencers do?
Yeah, so that's why I have such a range of influencers. I want to be able to have a company come to me and me immediately say, this is the person that you should be working with. And so I have such a range of an influencer with an audience of strictly pet parents, maybe like 1% veterinarians. And then I have an audience that, this influencer is only veterinarians and it's very targeted. And then I have the 50-50s or 70-30s. So we try to run polls every few months to understand better the audience. But for the most part, the content that they're putting out is particularly niche to that industry. So we have, I have one influencer who always talks about studies and she goes through all the studies. And as a pet parent, you're going to go, I don't know what she's talking about half the time, but a veterinarian's like, thank you so much for reading the study and breaking it down for me. And so a lot of the time when we have heavily veterinary companies come to me, I have 2 influencers that I know that's their target market. I have one that literally just performs surgery all day, and that's his whole feed is surgery and memes and, comedic skits that are about the veterinary industry. And so it's really targeted based off of what the company's needs are, but it's definitely a mix of B2B and B2C for sure.
Excellent. We ran out of time as we usually do, and there are 2 questions that we ask at the end. One of them is there book, video, YouTube video, TED Talk that you recently watched and were inspired by that you would like to share with the listeners?
Yeah, so Dr.Kwane's speech for CNN Hero of the Year was definitely the most inspiring thing that I've watched in a long time. If you don't know who he is, he runs Project Street Vet. He is incredible. He's so kind and selfless. And in the speech, he said something along the lines of like, what is humanity? And what does it mean to be human? Looking out for each other, helping each other. And then he went on to split the 100K that he had just won with all the other nominees. And it's super inspiring. And it made me get out there and start volunteering at Austin Animal Center, which is the biggest shelter by me. So definitely inspired me for sure.
That's awesome, Ashley. Last question for you, Ashley, is another guest that you think we should have on the show?
Yeah, I would say Zonram Lau. He's one of the influencers that I manage. He has a supplement line that is called Wellnergy Pets. He's just an incredible human. He's such a go-getter and he's a practice owner and he's done incredible things and faced a lot of obstacles that were thrown his way.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.